Hello and welcome. In this video, we're taking another look at our fundamentals demo, and specifically, we are taking a look at our import info from CSV using arrays. Now, this is again just an addendum to the video that explains how to write this code, and I would like to do one little change in the code to demonstrate how an array looks in Java once you have declared the size of the array. And so remember that we were talking about the difference between declaring the size of the array and initializing the elements in the array. And to appreciate then what is going on before we resize the array like we did in the main video, well, what I would like to do is I would like to simply loop through all of the elements in the array so we can see them on the console. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and declare a local variable index, and I'm simply going to set up a loop here that's going to start off at 0. It's going to continue to whatever the count happens to be, and we're going to then increment the index. And the idea here is I'm going to use a system.out.println to simply demonstrate whatever the particular results are in that results array. Remember that results are an array, and I'm going to use the toString method for that particular object. Now, keep in mind, the idea is that you should then get the toString for the objects or relevant to the specific object. In other words, if you go back to users.csv, you should see gmyers1 for the first object in the array, gmyers2 for the second object in the array, and so on. The question becomes, what does the 6th, 7th, and so on objects in the array look like? Now, what we're going to do to turn off some of the noise that we had in the earlier examples, I'm actually going to go back up to our main. We're still going to call the function the same way and everything like that. The only difference is that I'm going to go ahead and turn off all of the system.out.print lines from the main. And the only thing I would like to go ahead and bring down is I'll go ahead and bring out the printout of the index so we can sort of really appreciate what is going on here. And so inside of this loop here, I'm going to go ahead and print out the index as well as print out a new line. And so effectively what we're doing is we're evaluating or enumerating through or iterating through our array before we actually return it back to our calling function, and more importantly, before we resize it. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen. I'm going to rerun my import info from CSV using arrays, and you'll notice here that it stops at 5 because we stopped it at the count. Well, what if we change this to then look at the entire array? In other words, basically limited it only by the maximum value. So in other words, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th elements of the array should also be printed now. And if we rerun this, you get an error message, and we probably need to tweak this error message just a little bit because this no longer relates to opening the CSV file. And so why don't we go ahead and change this completely and just rely on the exception. We'll go ahead and build this, rerun it one more time. And you'll notice that it says it cannot invoke the toString method because results square brackets index is null. So if you think about that for just a second, in this line up here, where we declared the array to be 10 elements in size, we did not initialize the individual elements. So in summary, we are declaring the array size, but not initializing the individual elements, or in this case, objects. Here is where we initialize the objects by calling the constructor. Hopefully, this cleared up any confusion that you might have had about the necessity for us to resize the array prior to returning it, because if we had tried to access those 6th, 7th, and so on elements in the array, we would have simply crashed our application in main. Now, before you leave out of this, if you've made any changes to your code, you want to go ahead and comment this out, maybe document what we just done. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to email me. And thank you for watching.